Exposed, how a sister's betrayal sparked a hidden journey to incredible life-changing triumph. Emily wore her heart on her sleeve, and in Maplewood, where autumn painted the town in fiery hues of orange, she grew accustomed to juggling responsibilities. Each day at the diner meant serving regulars, hastily cleaning tables, and stealing a glance at her mother, whose frail frame softened Emily's resolve. She'd always been the one to hold everything together for her energetic younger brother, Liam, who filled their rundown home with laughter and mischief. Hard work had always been part of her identity, an American ideal she embraced with pride. But the tight-knit community she adored was soon about to shake her world. Things spiraled when Sarah, her estranged sister, swaggered back into Maplewood, wrapped in confidence, her polished appearance dazzling the townspeople like autumn sunshine. "Look at me. I've changed," she said, charming neighbors with promises of a new life, leaving Emily to choke on the bitter taste of betrayal. Memories of stolen childhood moments turned sour as whispers of Sarah's triumphant return blinded Emily's vision. Instead of love, she felt hurt. The very foundation of their family dynamic trembled like the branches of trees in a storm. Why was Sarah getting all the attention? Emily internally battled as the rumors escalated. Every compliment aimed at Sarah felt like another dagger in her heart. Emily's deep-rooted loyalty to her family turned into a tornado of confusion and anguish. It was supposed to be simple, the two of them should stand shoulder to shoulder, yet here she was, left behind, struggling to keep her family afloat while Sarah basked in the glow of community affection. Then, in the midst of heartache, a spark ignited in Emily. She would not fade silently. A community food drive, she thought, an effort to support families that faced struggles just like hers. Her ideas took shape amidst her sorrow and anger. Each donated can was a link to her hurting heart, rejuvenated by the warmth of connection. As the drive blossomed, so did a newfound purpose within her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The drive barely got its footing when a catastrophic storm rolled through Maplewood, uprooting trees and tossing homes around like leaves in the wind. Emily's gut clenched at the devastation. Yet, rather than cower in fear, she stepped up, rallying her neighbors with fierce determination. Emily's relentless spirit shone like a beacon that night, calling everyone together. The town, once divided by loyalties, rediscovered the strength in unity. As they mourned what was lost, the fabric of their community stitched tighter. Even then, a rift remained between Emily and Sarah. The storm, while it leveled homes, also invited tensions to rise between sisters. In this emotional uproar, the true essence of family was on display, a painful reminder of anger versus healing, resentment versus forgiveness. Both sisters stood tested, flanked by the gaze of an interested town, as rumors lingered, hearts bared, and fate pushed them closer together and further apart. As the rain fell, the question hung thick in the air: could forgiveness truly bloom amid the wreckage? The sun rose, casting a soft glow over the battered town of Maplewood, but Emily felt heavy under the weight of the night before. The remnants of the storm lay scattered like broken promises, and the ghosts of unresolved pain lingered between her and Sarah. She could still hear the howling winds and the echoes of their parents' arguments, reminding her of the fissures carved into their family long ago. At the diner, Emily poured coffee, but her heart wasn't tea in it. Regulars chatted, laughing and sharing stories, but she felt like an outsider in her own life. She wiped down tables without noticing the scattered crumbs or the tantalizing scent of warm apple pie hanging in the air. Her mind swirled with whispers of what Sarah might say next, each potential encounter filling her with dread. "Hey, Liam called, breaking through her fog. His bright eyes sparkled with mischief. "Can we go look for the big tree that fell? I think I saw a raccoon run under it." Emily managed a smile, her little brother's innocence a soothing balm. "Sure, buddy. Just give me a moment." She dashed into the back room for a quick breath, staring at her reflection in the dimly lit glass. The bags under her eyes reminded her of sleepless nights and the toll of carrying both grief and hope on her shoulders. Outside, the air felt fresh and crisp, a contrast to the turmoil in her heart. The sight of cracked branches and overturned earth gave her pause, but Liam's laughter pulled her back. He raced toward what was once the town's largest oak, its roots now exposed like a gaping wound. "Look!" Liam exclaimed, peering into the hollow trunk. "A cozy home for our little raccoon friend." Emily knelt beside him, her heart swelling with a mixture of sadness and pride. This moment was everything that mattered, she and Liam, together. Yet Sarah's looming presence was hard to ignore, a shadow lurking just outside their neighborhood. Laughter turned into silence as the thought of facing her sister dug deeper. Later, Emily found herself standing alone in the backyard as dusk settled in. The remnants of their home were contrasted by the flickering lights from the nearby houses as neighbors began rebuilding. Emily realized that, like the town, she too had to choose whether to rebuild or let past hurt consume her. The thought of confronting Sarah both terrified and intrigued her. Could they find a way through the rubble of their relationship? A soft rustle broke her introspection. She turned to see Sarah approaching, her features softened by the evening light but burdened by unspoken words. Sarah's voice was cautionary, resonating with nerves. "Can we talk?" Emily's heart raced, a part of her wanted to flee, to shut the door on the possibility of what this conversation might lead to. But another part, one that longed for family, for connection, took a step forward. "What do you want, Sarah?" Her voice wavered, a mixture of curiosity and unease. "I know I messed up. I want to make things right," Sarah said, her eyes pleading for understanding amongst the rubble of their past. Emily's breath hitched. The sincerity in her sister's tone pulled at something deep within her, a flicker of hope beneath layers of hurt. She felt the storm within her rise again, ready to unleash. But could this moment shift the tides? As the first star twinkled in the softly darkening sky, Emily couldn't help but wonder, was it possible for two sisters to find their way back to each other after everything they had lost? Would this conversation become their turning point or another storm to weather? With her heart pounding, Emily took a deep breath, ready to confront the ghosts that haunted them both. But just as she opened her mouth to reply, a sudden crash echoed from the house next door, sending a jolt through her gut. "What now?" The crash shattered the moment. It was a sound that echoed like a faint reminder of their childhood, the kind of noise that comes before disaster strikes. Emily's heart raced, anticipation mingling with dread. She turned to Sarah, who looked just as startled, eyes wide and alert. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Yeah," Emily replied, trying to shake off the tension between them. "It sounded like it came from the Johnsons' place. Should we check it out?" Before Sarah could answer, Liam emerged from behind them, his small frame silhouetted by the fading light. "What was that?" he asked, eyes flickering with curiosity and concern. "Just a noise, Liam." "Stay close to me," Emily instructed, taking his hand firmly. Despite the turmoil brewing in her heart, instinct kicked in. The sisters exchanged a quick glance that held years of bottled emotions and unspoken truths of sorts. The three of them moved cautiously toward the neighbor's house. Shadows danced around them as dusk swallowed the surroundings. Every creak of the porch made Emily's stomach twist. Was this what it felt like to confront the unknown? As they approached, they could see the front door ajar, swinging gently in the breeze. Emily pushed it open wider, and it creaked ominously under her touch. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling slightly. There was no answer, just silence and the distant rustling of leaves. It felt eerie. They stepped inside, the darkness wrapping around them like a heavy blanket. Emily's pulse quickened, the stillness was unsettling. "Liam, stay right behind me," she murmured, squeezing his hand tightly. He nodded, eyes darting around the dim interior. With hesitant steps, they made their way through the living room where overturned furniture lay scattered. The sight was a reminder of how quickly things could change. Suddenly, Liam pointed to the kitchen, his voice barely above a whisper, "Look!" A small animal scurried across the tiled floor. A raccoon, frightened and disoriented from the storm, tumbled over a chair as it tried to escape. In that fleeting moment, Emily felt a strange connection, a reflection of her own chaotic feelings. "It's just a raccoon," Sarah said softly, stepping closer to get a better look. They all watched as it fumbled helplessly, trying to find a way out. "Sometimes things just need a little help," Emily murmured, her thoughts shifting to her relationship with Sarah. She had been that raccoon, clawing for a path through the debris of their past. "What do we do?" Liam asked, his innocent tone breaking the tension. "We need to help it," Sarah said, a spark of determination igniting in her eyes. "It won't find its way on its own." With those words, Emily felt a small shift in the air. The weight of their disagreements, the years of silence, seemed to lessen ever so slightly. Maybe they could also help each other find a way through. As they carefully coaxed the raccoon toward the door, Emily turned to Sarah, the unspoken words building up again. "We need to talk about us, about what happened." "Yeah, we do," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "I want to explain everything. I want us to figure it out." Just as Emily opened her mouth to respond, another crash echoed behind them, this time louder and closer. The floor trembled beneath them. Panic surged through Emily, igniting something raw and powerful. "Run!" she shouted, grabbing Liam and pulling him toward the exit, her heart racing, but the sound wasn't just noise, it was an urgent call, shaking her from her resolve. Before she reached the door, she looked back at Sarah, each sister's eyes reflecting both fear and resolve. "What are you waiting for?" Sarah asked, urgency in her tone. "We can't leave like this." Emily's heart thudded in her chest. Could they face whatever lay beyond together? Could they reclaim not just the raccoon but their bond, too? With a final look at Sarah, she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past paling against the strength of what might happen next. They both knew this was more than just a night of revelations, it was a chance to face their fears, but as they turned toward the noise again, Emily couldn't shake the question that hung in the air, waiting to be answered: just how far were they willing to go to rebuild what had been lost? The moment felt suspended in time, as if the world outside held its breath along with them. Emily's heart was a wild drumbeat in her ears, blending with the echo of the crash. She couldn't take her eyes off Sarah, who stood resolute despite the chaos surrounding them. "Are we seriously going to turn back now?" Sarah's gaze was fierce, the shadows playing off her features, making determination radiate from her. I just want to make sure we're safe," Emily stammered, trying to balance the protective instinct for Liam with the strange call for confrontation brewing in her stomach. "We can't ignore this. Not anymore." Sarah's voice cut sharply through the air, urging Emily to reconsider. This was at the moment they'd been dodging. Emily released her grip on Liam momentarily, her eyes flitting to the raccoon, now peeking cautiously from behind a chair. It still seemed lost, desperate. What if it's dangerous? But Liam piped up, his small voice breaking through the tension. "I think we can help it, Em. Just like we need to help each other." That pierced straight through to Emily's heart. Could he even comprehend the complexity of the turmoil they faced? "Okay," she finally said, turning back to Sarah, who was watching her with an unwavering look. "Let us see what that was." As they stepped further into the kitchen, shadows danced mockingly as if teasing them, daring them to go deeper. Another crash followed, louder and more insistent. "What is it?" Emily whispered, dread creeping up her spine. "Maybe it's just the storm." Liam wondered aloud, but in his voice was a flicker of fear, a hint that he felt something wasn't right. "It can't be that simple," Sarah countered. She was already stepping toward the hallway that led to the back of the house, where flickering light seeped through a partially closed door. The urge to follow was overwhelming. With shared glances, they moved toward the door, hearts pounding in unison. Emily's breath caught as she reached for the handle. Images of childhood memories washed over her, the games, the arguments, the laughter, the closeness they used to share. Could this be that moment of reshaping everything that had once pulled them apart? Together, Emily said, taking a deep breath. Sarah nodded, a shared commitment to face whatever awaited them on the other side, binding them back in that second. As they swung the door wide, the sight before them was startling. A toppled bookshelf lay within, and papers scattered like leaves in the wind. But it was the faint sound of a whimper, human or animal, that sent churning anxiety through Emily. Help! The cry was weak, layered with desperation. Over here! Sarah shouted, her intuition guiding her forward. They pushed into the room. Emily followed closely, feeling the weight of their unresolved past sliding off her shoulders, inch by inch. As they took each brave step together, Liam was close behind, peeking through the crack in the door. What do we do? It sounds like someone's hurt, Emily said, her throat tightening. Under the layers of fear, something else began to emerge, a sense of purpose, an urgency that could not be ignored. As they ventured further, another crash reverberated through the house. The noise was now frantic, echoing their rising panic. Emily's heart raced again, not just with fear, but with a realization. They were not just facing a danger tonight, they were confronting their own truths, hidden beneath silence and anger. Sarah, Emily said, breathless. What if we finally learn what each crash means? What if this is about more than just the noise? But before Sarah could respond, Liam called out, I see something. The air shifted in that instant, filled with anticipation and unspoken fears. Emily and Sarah rushed to the doorway, forcing themselves to see what lay ahead. Could they uncover the truth, both about the noise and themselves? Could they emerge from this night changed forever? The answer was just beyond that door. The light flickered again, casting erratic shadows across the room. Emily squinted, struggling to make out the shapes amidst the debris. Liam's eyes were wide, reflecting a mix of curiosity and fear. Sarah was already stepping cautiously around the wreckage, her heart pounding as her instincts kicked in. Liam, stay close, Emily urged, planting her feet firmly as she scanned the chaos, her mind racing. What do you see, buddy? I think it's behind the couch. Liam pointed, his small voice trembling slightly. Sarah nodded and moved towards the couch, the weight of Emily's uncertainty pressing down on her. Here goes nothing, she whispered to herself. Picking up a lamp, she set it upright, illuminating the dark corners of the room. As they made their way closer, a small figure emerged from behind the couch, whimpering softly. Emily's heart sank. It was a young boy, no older than Liam, curled up tightly. His clothes were tattered, and dirt smudged his cheeks. He looked up, eyes wide and filled with fear. What happened? Emily's voice trembled, her maternal instincts kicking in full force. It's okay, Sarah said, gently kneeling down to his level. You're safe now. Can you tell us your name? Max, the boy squeaked, his voice barely above a whisper. He had a vulnerability that tugged at Emily's heart. I tried to find my way home, but I got lost. Emily could feel Liam's small hand clutching her arm, his fear mirroring her own. You're not alone anymore, Max, she reassured him, kneeling beside Sarah. We're going to help you. As they spoke, another crash sounded from somewhere deeper in the house. It was louder, accompanied by a harsh scrape, making Emily's stomach drop. Stay here, Sarah commanded, her voice steadying as she turned back toward Emily. We need to check it out. Can you watch Max? Emily nodded, though her heart pounded at the thought of leaving them both. She turned to Max, trying to offer comfort. We'll be right back. Just sit tight. Liam looked at her, eyes wide with uncertainty. Do we have to go? Yes, Emily answered, trying to fight the rising fear. "We'll be quick." Sarah and Emily exchanged a firm glance, a silent agreement sealing their pact as they crept toward the sound. The hallway stretched dark and forbidding, illuminated only by thin slivers of light that trickled from various rooms. Each step felt heavy, the weight of their situation bearing down on them. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were unraveling something much deeper, something stitched into their past, a tangled web of lost memories and suppressed emotions. As they reached the door at the end of the hall, the noise grew louder, more frantic. "What if it's dangerous?" Emily whispered, anxiety bubbling up. "I don't know," Sarah replied, but her voice was steadier than her own heartbeat. "But we can't turn away now." Taking a deep breath, Sarah pushed the door open. The room was dim, filled with the scent of dampness and decay. Before them stood a mirror shattered into pieces, each shard reflecting fragmented images of themselves. "Where is it?" Emily's breath hitched as she scanned the room. Her heart raced, hope intertwining with terror, but then Max's voice echoed from behind them, small yet firm. "It's in here. It's not just a noise, it's something else." Feeling the heaviness settle over her like a blanket, Emily turned back. What had they stepped into? How could something so loud carry the weight of secrets, both past and present? With their hearts racing, they gathered the strength to confront the unknown. What truths would shatter them next? The echoes of the past were thick in the air, and they were just beginning to unravel. The air in the room felt thick, almost electric. Emily's gaze shot between the shattered mirror and Max, who seemed to sense the weight of the moment. With every breath, the reality of their situation hit her harder, the noise, the darkness, the lost boy. What secrets could lie behind that door? "Max, do you know what you're talking about?" she asked, her voice trembling that he nodded slightly, a flicker of bravery shining in his eyes. "I can hear things, whispers that don't seem right. They tell me things." His voice trailed off, as if afraid to reveal too much. "What kind of things?" Liam asked, stepping forward, curiosity overcoming fear. Max hesitated but then whispered, "That something terrible is hiding here, something that's been here for a long time." A chill ran down Emily's spine. She glanced at Sarah, whose expression mirrored her own fierce resolve. "We need to find out what that is," Sarah said, her voice low but confident. "We can't leave until we know." With a shared nod, they stepped gingerly into the room. The light flickered again, casting distorted shadows that danced across the walls. The fragments of the mirror seemed to glint mockingly at them, each shard revealing a hint of their own terrified reflections. "Be careful," Emily warned, her heart racing. It felt like they were teetering on the brink of something monumental. Sarah approached a larger piece of the mirror. "This one looks different." She reached out to touch it, but Emily grabbed her arm. "Wait." A loud crack echoed through the room as if the house itself was protesting their intrusion. They stumbled back, eyes wide. In that moment of panic, she felt a rush of protectiveness sweep over her. They were not just here to find answers, they needed to shield Max, shield each other. Max's face twisted with fear, and in an instant, Emily was on her knees beside him. "Hey, look at me," she said gently. "We're going to figure this out together. You're going to be okay." Just then, another crash reverberated from the basement below, shaking loose dirt from the ceiling. Goosebumps erupted on Emily's arms. "This isn't just about us anymore," she whispered. "Something is stirring beneath the surface." "What if it's dangerous?" Liam asked, his small voice quaking. "We'll face it together." "You're my brave little soldier," Emily replied, forcing a reassuring smile. But her heart was hammering against her chest. Just then, the lights flickered ominously before plunging them into darkness. Anxiety yanked at her stomach. In the pitch black, they heard a scraping sound, like nails against wood, clawing its way up from the basement. It was a harsh, intrusive noise that made Emily's heart stop. "What is that?" Max whimpered, clutching Liam's hand. I don't know, Sarah murmured, equally unsettled. But I think we need to get to the bottom of it now. We need to get down there. Emily nodded, adrenaline surging through her veins. They had to check it out. Whatever was brewing below, they couldn't turn back anymore. Instincts urged them forward, and yet dread gnawed at her. They moved quietly, forming a small, protective circle around Max, whose vulnerability became painfully clear. As they edged toward the basement door, Emily whispered a silent prayer. She felt fear creeping closer, merging with a strange sense of purpose. They needed to face whatever lay in the dark, not just for Max, but for themselves too. What if we discover something we're not prepared for? Sarah whispered, her eyes dark with uncertainty. We will be prepared, Emily replied, even as doubt twisted in her gut. Whatever's down there, it can't hurt us if we stand together. Taking a deep breath, she twisted the doorknob, each tick of the mechanism echoing through the tense silence. What awaited them in the abyss below? Would they find answers, or would they be plunged into an even deeper darkness? The basement door creaked open slowly, the ancient wood groaning like it had been asleep for years. A wave of cold air rushed up from below, wrapping around them like a frigid embrace. Emily squinted, straining her eyes to pierce through the darkness that lay beyond the threshold. The darkness felt thick, as if it had substance, pushing back against their curiosity. Stay close, Emily whispered, her voice barely a breath. She could feel Max's small hand trembling in hers as they descended the creaky steps. The suffocating silence was only broken by the sound of their slow, deliberate footfalls echoing through the hollow space. When they reached the bottom, faint shapes emerged in the dim light filtering through a cracked window. Dust hung in the air, swirling gently, illuminated by the moonlight. Emily's heart raced. It felt surreal, like stepping into a different world, one that had long been forgotten. A shiver ran down her spine as Liam tugged at her sleeve, his voice barely above a whisper. What's down here, Em? She opened her mouth to respond, but the scraping sound returned more insistent this time, closer than before. It was a raspy noise that filled the basement with an urgent quality, pulling them forward. There was something compelling in it, something that made her feel as if they were being beckoned. Over there, Sarah pointed, her finger trembling slightly. In the far corner of the room, half hidden in the shadows, lay a tattered old trunk, its edges chipped and weathered by time. The scraping seemed to emanate from within. Do you hear that? Max muttered, eyes wide and glistening with fear. Emily squared her shoulders, her instinct to protect them all overriding her own fear. We need to look inside, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The trunk might hold secrets or answers, something they desperately needed to understand what haunted this place. As they approached, the atmosphere shifted. The air thickened further, and Emily could almost taste the tension. What if something is in there? Liam's eyes darted nervously to each shadow. Emily knelt next to the trunk, her heart pounding in her ears. We won't let it hurt us, she assured him. We can handle this. Taking a deep breath, she lifted the latch and slowly raised the lid. It creaked open, releasing a musty odor that stung her nostrils. The sight inside sent a jolt through her. There were old photographs, yellowed and fragile, spilling out like forgotten memories. She gently picked one up, studying the faces of an unfamiliar family, smiling brightly against a backdrop that felt eerily similar to their surroundings. Look at this, she said, holding it up for the others to see. They lived here. Sarah leaned closer, her brows furrowing in confusion. But this doesn't make sense. Who are they? Max pointed at the photo, his voice shaky. They look like they're happy. Suddenly, a soft sobbing sound echoed in the distance, freezing them in place. It was a ghostly sound that seemed to seep through the walls, wrapping itself around their hearts. Is someone down here? Emily called, her voice trembling more now as the fear clawed its way back. The silence pressed in on them, thick and suffocating. Before anyone could answer, the basement lights flickered violently, casting erratic shadows that danced across their terrified faces. The trunk suddenly slammed shut, and Emily jumped back, her heart racing. "Get away from it!" Sarah shouted, yanking Max and Liam closer to her. "What was that?" Liam cried, panic spilling over. "I don't know, but we need to find a way out," Emily said urgently. They were in unknown territory now, a place where darkness thrived. Wrapped in a cloak of secrets. As they scrambled towards the stairs, the air shifted again. The whispers that Max had spoken of grew louder, swirling around them, as if the very walls were alive with dread. Emily could feel the weight of history pressing down, urging her to uncover the truth, urging them all to confront what lay buried. "Wait!" Max shouted, pointing back at the trunk just as the air became charged with an unseen energy. "What if it's trying to tell us something?" Emily hesitated, torn between fleeing and solving the puzzle. Would they dare to listen, or would they run from the truth waiting in the shadows? What if there's more to this story than we know? Sarah whispered, her gaze fixed on the closed trunk. Emily took a steadying breath. The whispers intertwined with her heartbeats, beckoning her. What happened if they found out what truly happened here? But deep down, she felt the inevitable return of fear, inching closer once more. "Then we'll find out together," Emily resolved, staring down at the trunk again, knowing now that running wasn't an option. But at what cost? As she reached for the latch again, the world around them seemed to hold its breath. The latch clicked under Emily's fingers, almost mocking her hesitation. As she lifted the lid again, the faint sobbing echoes seemed to soften, fading into an uneasy stillness that enveloped them like a thick fog. She peered into the trunk, a sense of dread creeping into her stomach. What if it contained more than memories? What if it held pain? The dust motes floated lazily around them, but there was nothing lazy about their situation. Max clutched Sarah's arm, his eyes wide and frightened, while Liam watched Emily, his face a mix of hope and terror. "Just a quick look," Emily whispered, more to reassure herself than anyone else. She reached back into the trunk and rummaged through the photographs, picking up a worn diary that had been nestled at the bottom. The leather cover was cracked, like it was fighting to hold on to its secrets. "What's that?" Liam asked, squinting to catch a glimpse. "It looks like a journal," Emily replied, her fingers trembling as she opened it. The pages were fragile, yellowed with age, filled with looping, elegant handwriting. She read the first few lines, her heart racing. It was a woman's voice, filled with longing and sorrow. "This is from the family in the photograph," Emily said, her breath catching. Suddenly, the sobbing returned, more intense now, echoing around the room like a chilling song, intertwining with the voice from the journal. "I can't bear the memories," it whispered. The four of them froze, eyes darting, searching for the source of the haunting sound. "Who is she?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling, as if breaking the silence could unleash something terrible. "I don't know," Emily murmured, her heart pounding even harder. Every sentence in the journal seemed to pull her deeper into the mystery. The woman spoke of love, loss, and an unshakable sadness that felt eerily present in the air they breathed. "What if we're not alone?" Max's voice piped up, a tremor running through it as he glanced over his shoulder, as if expecting something to materialize from the shadows. "We can't be terrified," Emily urged, flipping through the pages. "There's a reason we're here. These families, they lived here, and we need to understand what happened." Unbeknownst to them, the walls of the basement seemed to lean in, eager to listen. Emily squinted under the feeble light, reading a passage aloud. The walls still echo with their laughter, but now, they hold only sorrow. She shivered at those words, their weight heavy against her chest. Just then, the lights flickered again, stuttering like a heartbeat, before plunging the room into pitch darkness. A gasp escaped Sarah's lips, the sound swallowed by the consuming silence. "Emily?" Liam's voice broke through the dark, fear lacing it. "I'm here," she replied, her own heart racing with uncertainty. "Let us stay calm. We need to find the light." But then the whispers escalated, swirling around them like a storm. Shadows danced on the walls as Emily felt an unfamiliar pressure on her body, like invisible hands reaching out, urging her to stay. "Stop. Just stop," Sarah cried, trying to block out the unsettling noise. "Wait," Emily shouted, feeling a spark of defiance ignite within her. "I need to know what this woman went through. We can help, maybe not her, but the truth might set others free." Liam nodded slowly, determination filling his features. Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself against the fear. If they were to uncover the story buried in the trunk, they needed to confront whatever lay ahead. As the lights sputtered back to life, illuminating their faces once more, Emily steeled herself for what would come next. She turned to the journal again, a plan forming in her mind. If they could decipher the secrets hidden within these pages, it might lead them to a truth that had long been silenced, but what awaited them could change everything. "Let us dive deeper into this," she urged, feeling the rush of adrenaline. Surely, whatever darkness awaited them, they could face together. Because the truth was out there, and it was time to bring it to light. "And who knows," Max whispered quietly, "what if there's something we need to remember, as well?" Emily looked at him sharply, his words pulling at something deep inside. The journey into the past and the ghosts that walked alongside them was only just beginning. Would they emerge unscathed, or would the truth consume them all? Emily felt the thick air pressing around her, a tension that seeped into her bones. She could sense the weight of the past pushing against them, threatening to swallow them whole. The journal lay open, its words dancing in her mind like whispers of those who had lived and loved within the walls of this old house. "Let us read more," Emily said, trying to sound braver than she felt. Her heart raced in rhythm with the sobbing that now seemed to mold itself into the very fabric of the room. It felt as if it was urging her on, begging for its story to be told, desperately seeking acknowledgement. "Are you sure?" Liam asked. His voice softened, the fear still evident yet tempered by curiosity. Emily took a step closer to the trunk, running her fingers over the frayed pages. Each time she read a line, it felt like peeling back the layers of a wound that had never fully healed. The sorrow resonated with her, as though the woman's experiences were rippling out from the pages, binding them together in a fragile web. "Look here," she pointed to a passage that spoke of summer days filled with laughter, the warmth of hands held and promises whispered. But then the joy twisted into heartache, the ink trailing off as if the writer had paused, overcome with grief. It's about a sister. She lost someone she loved." Emily's words hung in the air, and Max's expression hardened. That must be the root of it. The sadness, maybe it was a betrayal. "Betrayal?" Sarah echoed, her voice fragile but laced with intrigue. "What if that's why she can't rest? What if this family was torn apart?" The whining echo of the sobs grew louder, filling the space as if acknowledging their speculation. It seemed to cradle Emily's heart and squeeze it, leaving her breathless. She had to understand. For the woman's sake, and for her own. "Let us keep going," Emily said, holding the journal open with a determined grip. She flipped to another section, where the sentences spoke of family gatherings once full of laughter that ended in silence. The finality of loss resonated deeply within her. She mentions a secret, something hidden that changed everything. The lights flickered again, and shadows fell against the walls as if the house itself shifted uneasily. Emily hesitated, glancing at her friends. She could see Max's fear mirrored in Sarah's wide eyes. But she pushed the worry aside. They couldn't turn back now, they were too close. The sobbing crescendoed, twisting into a wailing cry that reverberated through the basement, shaking them to their core. "Emily!" Liam shouted, panic lacing through his words, but she raised a hand, silencing him. It was all too much, yet she felt a compulsion to press forward. "This is their story," Emily said, her voice trembling with an urgency that felt almost primal. "We owe it to them to see it through." With a deep breath, she read aloud the next passage, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. I cannot forgive her, I cannot forgive myself for what we lost. The words felt like a punch to her gut. Each syllable bore a weight she hadn't anticipated, tightening around her heart like a vice. The room trembled with pent-up emotions. Max swallowed hard, stepping closer. What if the sister is still here? What if this is a warning? Or a plea, Sarah added softly, her eyes glistening as she grasped Emily's arm. The full force of the journal's message hit Emily hard: love, betrayal, and regret woven together, haunting souls still tethered to this world. And her heart raced at the thought of what would come next. Maybe we can change things, Emily said, feeling a flicker of hope flare in her chest despite the storm of emotions surrounding them. Maybe we could help her find peace. Suddenly, the journal slipped from her fingers, landing open on the ground, flipping to another page. A specific date caught her eye, the ink smudged but still legible. It seemed to pulse under the dim light. That date, it's not just a memory, Emily breathed out, realization dawning over her. As the sobbing quieted, the air hung heavy with anticipation. What if it's a clue? The four of them leaned closer, their breaths escaping simultaneously as Emily pointed to it, her heart screaming for answers. But what awaited them could change everything they thought they knew. Is it a past event, or something yet to come? Liam breathed, eyes wide, glancing between them all. And as they traced the letters, a chilling revelation began to dawn. Would they be able to face whatever awaited them, or would the hidden truth consume them entirely? The tension in the air felt like a live wire, crackling with unsaid words and unresolved emotions. Emily's heart raced as she traced the date on the yellowed page, a link to both past and present entwined in its shadows. We need to find out who this date belongs to, she said, her voice unwavering despite the dread spiraling in her gut. The sobs had quieted, but their weight pressed heavily as they waited for the next revelation. Max's eyes gleamed with apprehension, yet there was a flicker of courage igniting within him. What if it's a reminder? Something that can help us help her? His small voice held a wisdom far beyond his years. Emily looked around at the faces surrounding her: Liam's determination, Sarah's guarded hope, and Max's fragile bravery. Then we're doing this together, she affirmed. For her and for us. The resolve resonated through her, chasing away the whispers of doubt as she gripped the journal tightly. Sarah leaned closer, her fingers grazing over the page. Maybe the diary will guide us. If we piece together the memories, we might discover more. Slowly, they flicked through the pages, hearts beating as one. Here! Emily exclaimed, as she found a passage about the day the family had planned a picnic, a celebration interrupted by the storm of betrayal that changed their lives forever. This date, it's not just about heartbreak. It's about joy overshadowed by anguish. We can't ignore the love that existed here. The words dressed the room in solemnity, a reminder of all they had lost and all they still had to fight for. They sat in silence, processing the revelation. Emily's mind raced, piecing together small snapshots of her own life, her own family ties frayed by Sarah's earlier betrayal. What if we honor their memories by making things right ourselves? She whispered, a plan brewing beneath the surface of her pain. Do you really think we can? Sarah breathed, vulnerability flickering in her eyes. But Emily saw a spark of hope igniting in her sister's heart. We have to try, she said fiercely. We're sisters, after all. The universe wants us to fix this. And as those words hung in the air like a promise, the room felt warmer, the shadows retreating just a little. Suddenly, a scraping noise came from behind the trunk, a subtle yet insistent reminder that the past was still vividly alive. What was that? Liam stammered, eyes wide with fright. Just the house settling, Sarah assured him, swiping her hair back nervously. But Emily felt it deep within her, a rush of urgency mixed with anticipation. The family's pain resonated through the walls, wrapping around them all like a suffocating embrace. They couldn't back away now. Let us discover the truth, together, Emily declared, steeling her resolve. We have each other, and we can shift our fate, just like the town that has started to rebuild after the storm. We can heal. With a shared look of determination, they turned back to the trunk, peeling away layers of time. The diary unfolded stories of their joys and pains, revealing fragments of happiness twisted by the echoes of betrayal. And as they read, Emily saw fragments of her own life, the threads of sisterhood echoing in the woman's tales of love lost, joy buried. Each word felt like a step toward reconciliation. "That's it!" Max exclaimed, startling everyone. "If we can understand what made her feel betrayed, maybe we can make sure it doesn't happen again." His words sparked an idea in Emily's mind. We need a way to honor their memories, to allow both women sisters to find peace. Determined to heal their wrongs, Emily glanced at Sarah, who found her gaze steady. "How about we host a memorial for this family? Share their love and pain with the community, honor every bit of their story just like we're trying to mend our own." Tears filled Sarah's eyes, reflecting the hope stirring within her. "We can bring everyone together. And this time, it's going to be different." A rush of emotion swept through as they all nodded, the diary pages, the past, the memories, and their shared experiences weaving a tapestry of belonging back. Together, they had found not only a purpose but a path toward healing hearts long overlooked. As they climbed back up the creaky staircase, the lingering whispers faded into echoes of lingering strength. The past might have haunted them, but it was also pushing them to embrace the future. Emily shared a smile with Liam, who bounded ahead, laughter dripping from his voice. "Hey, I think a raccoon is gonna come help us too," he joked. And just like that, joy began to thread through the air, stitching the gaps left by silence and misunderstanding. Sarah slipped her hand into Emily's, warmth weaving between them. "Let us make this happen, sis. It's time to mend this family," she said, her voice stronger now. "Yes, it is," Emily replied, her heart swelling with pride. The air felt fresh around them, a promise of new beginnings washing over Maplewood like the first light of dawn, and as they left the old house, the past echoed softly behind them, a melody of forgiveness, a promise of transformation, and the realization that they were never truly lost. This was just the first step for Emily, Sarah, and their family. The journey toward healing had begun, and it radiated hope not just for them, but for all who had wandered in the shadows, waiting for their own truth to resurface. Now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive journey of self-discovery and heartwarming change. Leave a like now to give support and feed our algorithm. Comment your feelings and thoughts about the ending, what resonated with you the most. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans know the importance of showing their support.